Okay, these are the books I would literally sell my soul to read again for the first time. When I say this, I mean like some of them I wish I could literally flash back to when I read these books, like the time and just the nostalgia and everything like that. Some of them I would like just erase my memory completely and like read it new today. So we're gonna talk about all of them. These are not in any particular order, so maybe I should put them in order. Okay, so the first two books are gonna be more nostalgic books that I wish I could literally go back to the time that I read these and read them again for the first time. So the first one is the selection, and specifically the first one, because this is honestly what got me into reading like back in middle school, and it's so nostalgic for me, and I really want to just go back to middle school when I read the series because it was amazing. And I literally like read the first book, I think it was from my library, and I told my mom I was like obsessed with it, like I need all of them, and she bought me like the box set of the 3, and I just remember like getting it in the mail and like immediately reading them, and it's such like nostalgic time, and it's just so wholesome, and I wish I could go back and read it because I really do like the series. I actually reread the series again this year, and I still really enjoy it, and it's still pretty good. Like honestly, like the whole concept of it is really good, and I wish like I didn't know what happened at the end so I could just read it again. But yeah, this one is really good. So that's the first one. Count how many times I say really good. Okay, the second like nostalgic book that I want to go back and read for the first time is It Ends With Us. And I know this one might have like unpopular opinions now, but I honestly really like this book. And in 2020, this is the book that got me back into reading again. And like literally I had no idea what was it was even about. Like I had no expectations. I've just seen it all over Book Talk, and I was like, I'll try it. Ate it up, read it so quick, and like was so shocked at how it played out. Like I had no idea anything about it, and I was literally just like, and it like left me with the best feeling, like not because about the book's content, but about like falling back in love with reading. And I wish I could go back and just like experience that again. Like it was so nostalgic, and I want to see myself like fall back in love with reading. Like that'd be so cool if you could do that. But this one's really good, and I'm still excited for the movie. I know there's like things we don't like about it, but I'm still gonna watch it. So that's that one. Okay, and then the next 2 books are books that like they don't necessarily have like a crazy ending or anything like that, but I wish I could just reread it without any expectations and just see like how I feel about it again. So the first one is Ignite Me, which I honestly wish I could reread the whole Shatter Me series with no knowledge of what's gonna happen because that series is so good. But I would still reread it now, even though I know what's happening. So that's why I put this one in it, because if you know what happens in this book, you know. I'm trying not to spoil it, but this one is one of my favorite books in the whole series, and I wish I could just reread it without knowing, because I was literally like, oh my god, like the guy in the series, if you know, you know, and there's not much else I can say about it, but it's so good. And not only like the love interest and stuff like that, but just like kind of everything that happens in this book with like the world and other things. I can't like think of how to say it without spoilers, but just a lot of stuff that happens in this book left me speechless, and especially the romance. So if you still haven't read Shatter Me series, you need to. It's like one of my favorite series ever. So there's that one. And then along the lines of that, we have Fourth Wing. Now I will reread this probably forever, but like the feeling I got when I first read this book is just unmatched. Like this is like my first fantasy book that I ever read, because Shatter Me is like dystopian, so this was the first one. I had no idea. I had literally no expectations. I read it on the Kindle. I had no idea how big it is, anything. I just saw everyone reading it. I was like, I guess I'll give it a try. It has changed my life, basically. Would literally sell my soul to read this for the first time. I still will reread it again, like I said, forever, but that first time just freaking out over everything, like so excited to read it, like no idea what's happening or what, like where it's gonna go, because I don't read fantasy. Like I had no idea anything, and it was just amazing to read. So yeah, that's that one too. Then last few books kind of have to do with like how they ended. So I'm not gonna do any spoilers, but just know that like they might have like shocking endings or something like that. But if you don't want to know anything about like how books end, then don't watch this part. But I won't have any spoilers, just so you know. The first one. What can I even say? Like honestly, I would sell my soul to reread this again. Like I again had no idea anything about this book. Just that it was a romance, and I was like, that's enough for me. And it has such a special place in my heart, and it literally physically hurts to think about this book, but it is so good. I don't know if I would actually regret reading this for the first time or not, just because it's, you know, but I think I would. Like, how morbid does that make me? But it's just so good, and like now that I know what happens, I'd still love to reread it, and I will reread it next year probably, because there's another one coming out from the guy's point of view, so I will be reading that. But I just wish like I could like give this to someone and like watch them read it for the first time. Like that feeling and that ride would be crazy. Next, if you know this one, you know as well, like this entire book, like this is like the 4th book I think I read by Colleen Hoover, and I literally was shocked. Like this is me reading this book. Like I ate this book up and I read it so quick. It's like you just have to know what happens when you read this book. Like if you know, you know, like you start reading that and you want to finish it immediately. And I did, and it just left me speechless. Like I literally still think about this book to this day, and like it leaves you with a question kind of, and I just was literally left speechless. Like I don't even know what else to say, but it'd be so cool to like go back and read this for the first time, having zero expectations and just seeing myself be so shocked over and over again and creeped out in like the best way. And yeah, I'll never get to do that, but if you haven't read it, you should. And it's just really good. It's still one of my favorite Colleen Hoover books, as crazy as that sounds. Next is the Hawthorne Legacy, and really it's the whole Inheritance Games series, because there's so much that goes on in those books, but specifically this one was my favorite because of the romance. I felt like it really took off in this book, and I actually really like the love interest. I know some people have mixed opinions about who it should be, but I was very glad about who it is. And I really love this book, and all like the riddles and mysteries and secrets and all of that stuff would be so cool to read again for the first time, not knowing anything. So this one's definitely up there. It's one of my favorite series, again, of all time, and I just love it so much. And then we have The Silent Patient, which this one's a little bit nostalgic for me because I read it around the same time of like when I got back into reading. And honestly, this one's pretty much just because of the ending, and just like not knowing, like to read this and not know anything would be so cool again. Honestly, when I read this, I was so shocked, and it really made me fall in love with like thrillers and mysteries, because this was like one of the first ones that I read. And I actually listened to this again this year as an audiobook, and it was still really good. And I like picked up things again, but just to go back and read this for the first time would be crazy, and it's just really good. So this one had to be on the list. Okay, these are all the books that I would literally sell my soul to reread for the first time again, and I hope this helped you find a new book recommendation, or if you can relate, let me know. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. My view while filming.